going to start the show laughing because we were laughing prior. So we
We
might
were
as well
laughing
just
prior.
laughing real hard.
Just
So
dive right
yeah,
in.
I think this will be a good one. Good morning, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. We are pressed for time. This is episode maybe 21, 22, losing count, but
Yeah.
I'm happy that we're in the second wave of double digits. So
Right.
that's Fabu.
Still going
I am.
strong.
That's it. That's it. That's what's important. Benny Rose, if you don't know already, the other side of the screen, Mr. Tyler Nethers.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing today, my brother?
Good, man. Busy day, busy week, busy month.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a
I
shit
mean,
show. We missed last week. We weren't here.
yeah, life gets in the way. I mean, that's what we talk about. As
Mm-hmm.
cliche as it is, but it's the name of the game, and we appreciate everybody that sticks around and looks forward to when we put out stuff. And sometimes we have our life situations that get in the way, and we're gonna do our best to keep it fairly consistent. So we're back again, and this one will be another casual show. We definitely have a cool announcement to make towards the end of the show as we are dedicating the month of August to a specific category. And we'll talk about that later. So stay tuned to the end of the show. That'll be a really cool announcement. But today we're going to keep it simple. We're going to talk about the strike a little bit, maybe how that affects us and, the gray areas and the questions that everybody wants to know. Like, does it affect influencers, content creators, journalists, things like that? Like, who can we talk to? Who can't we talk to? I it's a very weird situation. We obviously want to tread lightly. We respect kind of both sides of the spectrum because there's always a story to be told, at least from my perspective. I won't speak for Tyler, but we'll talk about how it's affecting the world of nerdism and San Diego Comic-Con happening right now and that kind of being light on actors as expected, how it affects the show, things like that. We're going to talk about Sir Tyler checking out Oppenheimer day one.
Yep.
I'll give you a hint. The topic of the subject will be Splash Zone,
Splash
so
Zone.
we'll get to that a little later. But yeah, I think we can jump into the strike first. Let's the elephant in the room. It's something that's
Yeah.
going on. Doesn't seem like it's going away
No,
anytime
because
soon.
studios won't pay people what they're worth. Studios continue to sit on their hands and pretend like they don't have the money while shelling out hundreds of millions of dollars in CEO bonuses. And they refuse to allow the strike to end, which is an important way to contextualize that because it is not the strikers keeping it struck. All the company has to do is agree to the terms that the union set forth, which are fair and reasonable terms for the people that make the stuff that we enjoy. So, yeah, the studios can end all of it. They could end it today. They could be like, yes, here are the reasonable things you asked for, like healthcare and increase in your wages and residuals to allow you to live on the work that you do, which everybody should be able to do. So I think it's important to make sure that any and all ire remains directed at the multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar, in Disney case, corporations that are not allowing the strike to come to an end, not the people that are actually striking.
Yeah. So there's a lot of context. There's a lot to unwrap, and obviously we are not going to pretend that we're super knowledgeable in the world of that. We are not part of SAG-AFTRA. We are pressed for time doing our thing out of our own pocket. We are not getting paid by anyone. But obviously,
You're not
again,
getting paid. I might have to talk to. I'm gonna have to talk to the bosses and see if we can fix that.
I thought we were the bosses.
Just kidding.
Oh, I know, I know. So, again, there's a lot of people out there in the world of social media taking their talk and their thoughts and their feelings on how they approach it as content creators and things like that. I don't know if I consider us like traditional content creators because we are, part-time video game journalist that kind of expanded that world to
Yeah.
doing the podcast. But we're not affiliated with anybody. We do work with Gaming Age, on our own free will of well, but at the same time, they talk about if you are looking to pursue a world in anything that's relatable to the unions, things like that. Obviously, you want to respect and do things. So it's tough because at the end of the day, we talk about what we love. We're not doing it out of jobs being given to us. We're reaching out to people that kind of we feel is relatable in the world of passion and love of all things in the various industries we talk. So it's really weird to see both sides, but at the same time, I'll bring out a little part of my 2 cents. I'm sure there'll be like the two people that'll hate how I say it, but I try not to be in a conflict when it comes to this stuff. But realistically, we have a situation where again, we're talking about these big companies that have a lot of money that are, most of that money is funneling towards the top. And obviously it trickles down and obviously diminishes as it gets lower and lower. So when you think about the strike, at least from my perspective, I think about the ones that it's really affecting are the people that are kind of in the realm of ours side of things, like potentially just getting started, getting a job here and there, not actively getting a large amount of opportunities. Because in a world of arts, I could speak for the music side, jobs come and go, they're in and out. You can get a job that's good for 2 months and then you can go a year without a job, if those opportunities aren't presented or the money's not right, whatever it is. So you have to look at those types of scenarios as, yeah, theoretically, you're not going to have a means to pay your bills if you have no job for an extended period of time. And that can happen with unions. My brother, works for like one of the New York City unions, and they have times where construction jobs are not available. And what happens? They lay them off. And they have to agree to those terms whether they like it or not, because that's part of being in the union. So that's the other, the two sides of the coin here.
Yeah.
And then they can go a long time, which my brother has gone without a job, and he can't just go out and get another job because then he's not going to be part of the union. So there's those things to consider. But then, you have the actors that have now jumped in, to kind of help push the point, right? So a lot of people are thinking, or like the first mindset that I see from social media is, hey, you got so and so who's an A-list actor picketing the line, right? How dare you? You make this much money on this movie, And obviously the thought is that they're doing it in solidarity, right? But then you'll have that other aspect of, well, why isn't that guy giving them his money, And
I
it's a
haven't
gray
seen
area.
A-listers on the line though.
I've seen some.
I thought that was the big problem or the big discussion point was people were saying, yeah, we're not seeing these A-list actors. And the counter argument was, well, if they showed up, then people would be upset. But I didn't think I had seen anything like that.
Well, I guess the question really begs to be who is considered an A-lister, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's obviously a lot of people. You have the world of Christopher Nolan and his stars. They kind of walked off the interview. That was like one of the first
Off the red
pivoting
carpet.
points. Yeah, first
Well, it was
pivoting
just,
point of
I mean,
yeah,
again though, with that, it was the strike hadn't happened. They were at the event waiting, and as soon as it was announced that they were striking, they were like, okay, well, we have to go.
right,
We're going to do our thing. So
right. So, like you said, is the question is, are any of them picketing and things like that? So again,
yeah,
I'm not watching a ton of it, but obviously, you have actors that and actresses that are like, have been in some bigger productions. Sean Gunn is the one a lot of people are talking about. Obviously, he's not, at a level of, Robert Downey, things like that, but I'm sure he's made good money with the movies he's done. And that's where a lot of people, they as soon as they associate a person with money, you kind of get put in that category of like, well, you have a lot of money, you can give that away. And it's like, you don't know the story, you don't know the
yeah.
context. There's
You don't,
plenty of
and it's
actors
not.
out there that are not good with their money, so they don't have money. It doesn't even matter
And
if
it's
they
not
get
even
millions
that
of
too. It's
dollars.
just there's just you don't. Yeah, you hear about these big ones that make millions and multi millions, and what is it? Old
Oh,
Dwayne, old Dwayne
oh,
just signed on for what Red 2 or Red Notice or some red nonsense. with a $50 million upfront check. Like, what the fuck?
And again, I am a weird I have a weird perspective on how I feel about that stuff because a lot of people say, oh, it's almost like borderline communist thinking when it comes to like it's tough for me to ingest in my body that like one person out there is worth $1 billion. I know they put the work into the career and things like that, but when you have
Nobody's done $1 billion
such a
worth of
gap,
the work. Nobody's done $1 billion of
you
work
know what
though.
I mean? Like when
No, I don't.
when
I'm telling
people
you. I'm telling you, there's not a person on earth, not a fucking person on earth that's done $1 billion worth of work. Not one.
well, that's the aspect because obviously the first thing that I think when I think of work and contribution is physical labor. That's where we all start, in my opinion. We're all doing something that requires physical work, right? You think about Undercover Boss, perfect example, I feel, where like those CEOs kind of get a reality check in most cases, going undercover and doing grunt work that either they've never done or they did it when they first started, and obviously, rare when they've built their way up. That's more of what I mean. If like you have a guy that has become here, there are certain stories that have that journey that have made it from nothing to something, and there is work
At
that goes
some
into that.
at some point though, at some point, anybody that makes that much money transitions into making that much money by going from their own labor to
Other people's
capitalizing on the
labor.
labor of other people. So
Of
I,
course, of course.
and I'm not saying there should be no rich people. I'm not saying that nobody
Right.
should be a millionaire. I'm not saying nobody should be a multimillionaire. That's an attainable thing. Like no
Yeah.
bullshit. That is reasonably attainable. I feel like, and I'm speaking from a place of privilege. Obviously, I live. My wife makes a fantastic living for our family. So that's not an unreasonable goal. But once you start talking billions,
Yeah. No, of course. I get it. And again, and that's where I try to really see both sides of the coin because the challenge is obviously we see what the media feeds us. It always goes back to the root cause. You know what I mean? So you paint the picture on what you see. And then you have that one perspective from Bob Iger. And the first thing everybody's gonna do is associate his comments with his lifestyle and knowing, all right, I need to research this guy. And then your research, if you didn't know who he was already, you know, I would say it's funny because before this, he was gotten pretty favorable considering who was there before.
because people are
You know what I mean?
stupid. Because people
Well,
people
I
like
think
to people like to pick good guy CEOs. People like to be like, oh well, not all billionaires. Like no, all of them, every single one of them.
so. Yeah, again, this is a very tough conversation just because it revolves a lot of conflict, and it's a conflict that doesn't directly affect us, but we care enough to talk about it because we know people in the industry. I know a ton of writers. I know a ton of artists. We've had
Mm-hmm.
some of them on the show.
Mm-hmm.
They may
People that
not
are
be affected
directly
by.
impacted by this strike, though. Like, yeah, we
Yes,
haven't had.
exactly.
I don't think we've had any guests, to my knowledge, that are directly impacted by the strike. But
We might
like
we might have had one.
we might
We
have had
might have
one.
had one.
We might have had
Yeah.
one, but we're not gonna dive into
No,
that.
that's what I'm
But
saying. But like
we
again, yeah.
know a lot of people that are
Yes.
directly affected by this, and people that are losing money by being on strike,
Yes.
but they believe in what they're doing, and they're losing money now to gain better quality of life on the back end. And that's what's important. And that's what I think we need to not lose sight of. So that's why, if you guys follow the Press for Time Twitter, which follow the Press for Time Twitter, please. That's a great place to follow us and see what we're doing. But we're going to try to get better about posting on that more often. But when this all started, I had made a statement out there like, hey, listen, we're not part of the WGA. We're not one of the striking unions or anything like that. Obviously, we're not in a union, but we're not going to be doing favorable coverage for struck companies. Like we're not going to do it because even though it does not affect us, it does affect people that we care about, and it affects people in this industry that we love. And the way to get the industry to be better is through this strike and through the people getting what they deserve. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is people getting what they deserve. So I think what was it, the one of the lead writers for She-Hulk, and the quality of She-Hulk has nothing to do with this, what I'm about to talk about. But the one of the lead writers got a check for like $636.
Yeah.
$636. I can go sell three fucking things out of a random collection and get $636. You should not get paid that little to write a TV show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's part of the machine
It's exactly.
that we talk
So
about all the time.
I feel like, and nobody's asking for absurd anything. It's not like they came to the table and they're like, we want two
Yeah.
hundred thousand
Millions of
dollars a year.
dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's just we want health care. We want to be
Right.
able to go to the fucking doctor. We want to be able to pay our rent every month because we
Yeah.
have to live here in LA and San Francisco and shit to be close to these productions that you want us to work on. And the cost of living is fucking absurd here. Please pay us so that we can do this. I want to raise a family. I don't want to have to live in a fucking 3-bedroom apartment with 5 other writers to try and do this.
And it doesn't give hope for future writers and people
No.
that are inspired to try to find a living in that world, and obviously if it hasn't been shown at some point, we have goals that we are seeking to accomplish, as a team here, and it makes things very scary. It makes it very hard to want to fight that struggle
Yeah.
because, Tyler and I both are responsible adults that have been working for a long time. We might have an age gap, but I can say, without going into too much detail of Tyler's life, the man has lived, and I mean that in a highly respectable way. You know what I mean? He's accomplished so much, and I'm beyond supportful and grateful to everything he's done. He's also for our country, you know what I mean? So to see, you know, the way that we have to balance our lives sometimes, it's tough. It's tough to get into any industry when you have that responsibility, especially at a young age, working and grinding and doing what you have to do. I've been working since I was 16, full-time jobs. I was literally talking with my mother yesterday on the way home from work about this and just saying, people live in the past have always said, why don't you just stop what you're doing, take that risk, jump off the cliff, take a leap of faith. It's not in my chemistry, and it's hard,
It's
especially
not the way the
now.
world's built anymore. Yeah. If you don't
Right.
have some seed money or something to sit on,
Yeah. But again, when you're seeing stuff like the strike happen, I think about how things were in the past. And I know that as a musician, very similar. So the thing that I wanted to bring up about an important part of the strike that I see that they're looking for are residuals.
yeah.
For those that are not familiar with residuals, it's little bits of money that a person can get for contributing to content that is constantly seen and watched and downloaded and purchased. Okay. Perfect example. The actor's name escapes my mind and I apologize, but he if you've ever seen the movie Hook, one of my favorite movies growing up, adult Peter Pan, Robin Williams. Tyler, I mean, you were probably a lot younger when that came out. You might not even been born.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what year it came out, but I've seen it because I've seen everything
Okay.
Robin Williams. One of my
So,
all time greatest
okay.
humans that has ever walked the planet, in my opinion.
Agreed. So the character of Rufio, right? That
Mm-hmm.
actor has a
Yeah.
TikTok
I can't
where
think of
he
his name either.
basically he does what's called residual roulette. So he'll get his envelopes in the mail and he'll pick one out random, and based on what the residual is what he decides he's going to have for dinner. So he'll open one up and he'll explain what the residual check for. He'll kind of show a clip if it's like an old TV show that he made like a guest appearance on. And some of these actors,
Dante Bosco.
thank you. My apologies, Dante. Um, so yeah, it's a scenario of these residuals. Not all of the actors get that, and I'm going to tell you why a lot of them don't get it now. Streaming platforms.
Streaming, and that stuff isn't built into those contracts.
Yes, and
And
that's
that's a big
another
part
thing
of
they're
what they're
fighting for.
seeking. They're trying to find a way to regulate streaming because streaming only and if anybody comes in these comments talking about exposure, lick my nuts. Okay.
You don't get to talk to exposure to this 41-year
No,
old. I've been hearing
absolutely
exposure my
not.
whole life as a musician.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I'll put your stuff here as exposure. We will
nope,
never ask you to be on the show for exposure.
no.
We ask you to come on the show because we love you and we love what you're doing and we want you
Yeah,
to share that love with us.
yeah.
Let's
It's
be
not
real.
exposure. No, nobody. Don't do stuff for exposure. Okay, this is not. This is not 1960s gig. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
you don't have to go that old. You
yeah,
can go you can go 20 years back when you were 10 years old where you
yeah.
this wasn't relevant to you.
No kidding.
And literally, like how many managers, venue holders, record labels would be like, "Oh, it's going to be great exposure for you." Where's the money where we're going to do business,
Yeah,
And as many people have made the joke about the man of many brands over the years, there's a reason that I've done that because the one thing I'm consistent with is I've always been creative and
yeah,
I've always wanted to bring something to the table. As far as making it sustainable, that's the tough part. And that's the tough part for anybody, and that's what we try to do here. We try to keep it real. We try to be as organic as possible with this. And we shed, I feel, a very unique take on this because not too many people that are in our realm of content creating talk about their personal stuff without going into, we don't go into our day to day life, but we talk about the struggle of putting your heart and soul into something. We're giving you content, we give you an hour a week, right? To me, that's one of the most important hours of my week. To be cliche and corny,
yep,
this hour every week with Tyler is one of the most important parts of my life, and I look forward to it because, and this is also why the show sometimes extends further than we like because we're catching up. We'll
yeah,
talk throughout the week, but it's not the same. We save a lot of it for this, and he said it right before we recorded. He literally said, short show. We'll keep it simple today. We're gonna go on a rant. Sure enough, and
yep,
we know I talk a lot, so if you're here, you already know that. So,
yep. It's all good.
but
That's the whole
again,
point.
yeah, that's it. So the streaming thing is really important because as a musician, for two artists that are on digital platforms, Ghosts of Eden and Neon Arcadia, the amount of money we get from those streaming platforms is practically non-existent.
Right.
Okay. Neon Arcadia has our number one song for streaming on mostly Spotify is a cover. And that cover got almost 170,000 streams since it's been out. Take a guess on how much money we've gotten from that. Say hi, little X, everybody.
Hey, buddy.
All right, let me finish up. Good job. He's playing Sackboy and he's beating a level that I think he's almost done with the game. So
Is Sackboy co-op? Is there online? Is there
I think
online
it's four
multiplayer?
players. So
Dude, so
I
Ava
think we might
plays
have
it all
to.
the time. He and Ava could play some
Okay.
Sackboy.
Yeah. So this is a segue that we love. So little X, we'll talk when we're done. Okay. I have some news to share. The Tyler just shared with me. So I'll tell you after. Come on. um, so I was trying to say with the streaming, there's no money.
Yeah, nothing.
I can't even say maybe hundreds, and
Yeah.
that's after 300,000 streams, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Not doing it for the money, but again, somebody like me, somebody like you, what we do in the beginning, you invest that money you make right back into the product anyway. And that's
Absolutely.
what I've done. Any merch that I've had, my mix tiles, that'll invest right back in.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Oh,
doesn't
look.
think about see one after another.
Yeah.
Say happy birthday. But yeah, there's a tough balance with streaming because there's no available money. The money's there. It's the streaming companies are keeping it, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, and I assume Netflix and everybody else, it's the same issue. They probably
Yeah.
hold
Well,
it.
no, they don't get
They're holding
residuals
the
at
money and
all.
they don't. Right.
Actors don't get anything from their shows streaming. I mean, if they do, it's just negligible from these shows that are getting millions and millions of streams. And that's all that money stays in house. And it's
Yeah,
not
and I
like
think that, and I
the
think that's what
day-to-day
happened with the
workers are
music.
getting
But
it.
the scary part about music is the music industry. If I don't, there's unions, but I don't know if they've ever gone on strike. I'm not knowledgeable in that. But I think
I'm
that
also not. I can't speak to
I don't
that.
think the world would stand still. They'd be like, yeah, anybody could write a song. You know, it's the same thing that's happening now. We'll use AI. You know, James Cameron
Yep.
said it best. I warned you. I
Right.
warned you in the 80s about this and you didn't listen. So, you know,
From
the fact that,
1942 to 1944, more than 100,000 musicians with the American Federation of Musicians went on strike.
okay,
But
so there you
that's the
go.
last time,
Right.
80 years ago.
Scary because, you know, this could awaken a fire in a lot of people.
Yep. There
You know,
is
the
a
ones that,
musicians union though. We do have one. It's the AFM, the American Federation of Musicians. But they
yeah.
have not gone on strike since 1942.
Well, that's a good thing for musicians, but you know, a lot of musicians vent about stuff, but I think the ones that vent in most cases are somebody like me that aren't in those unions per
I don't
se.
know.
And
Think about how long it took Tool to go to streaming because they were figuring out their record
yeah,
label issues. Very public, very problematic for a long time.
that's true. That's true.
And then all the Metallica stuff early on. I mean,
Oh, the
most of
whole
their stuff
world,
was against Napster, but
and then Napster like came back out of nowhere, which was weird, and
yeah,
then they disappeared again, and then I think they're back again.
they are.
Yeah,
To
it's so
the
weird.
last I saw, they are. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's really my 150 cents of what's going on. And again, we'll do our best to pay respect, and we want to still have guests on the show. And like I said, we'll talk about August in a little bit, but we actually had a couple of guests lined up that unfortunately had to not come on the show because they have their own obligations that they have to figure out. So a
Mm-hmm.
perfect example of we know people that are affected by it.
Yeah,
So
and we support
we
them 100%.
yeah, we wish you the best.
And once things are
However
squared
way we can
away,
help,
yep.
you know.
Once things are squared away, if they're available, we'll have them back on. But
Absolutely. But any final thoughts on this whole snafu?
nope. Fuck billionaires. Fuck corporations. Pay your people. Let writers and the majority of actors who are not A-listers, who are going to gig jobs, who are doing background work, who are showing up day in and day out trying to get jobs on TV shows and trying to get extra spots and all that. The people that are constantly working, constantly trying to get their big break, pay these people. Pay them because you need them for your projects. You do. That's the bottom line. Yeah, you can make a movie with just stars, but you need other people. Like,
Well, you're going to run out of money really quick if you just work with just stars because
mm-hmm.
they're going to continue to demand more and more money. And the thing is,
Dwayne.
you're giving most of them the money. There's the other side of that that we're not talking about. The money's there. You're just choosing where it's going.
Yeah.
So again, you know, we don't want to play devil's advocate in any way in a negative sense here. This is more
No.
of just really piecing it together.
Yeah.
But
Chopping it up, talking about it. Pay your people.
yeah. And Tyler's going to talk about a movie that he loves.
I am.
But
And
this is
I've
in no way
done
going to promote the movie. So
no,
let's get
so
that out.
I've done a good deal of due diligence here, and I'll double check now. Um
On what factor
on
about how to talk about it and stuff.
yeah. So
So we could keep it simple. We could just do you saw a movie, did you like it or not? And what is the splash
yeah,
zone?
so I did mention it on Twitter, so I guess here's the deal. Um I watched Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's a just a breathtaking, stunning piece of film, a stunning piece of history, represented in what I feel is the truest way it could have been represented. Because I'm something of a nut when it comes to that kind of stuff. I've done a whole lot of research and reading and watch documentaries and everything around Trinity and around everything having to do with that period of history. And I feel like the movie represented it in the only honest way possible that truly showed the gravity of what they did. The fallout, no pun intended, of everything for the scientists and the people that worked on that project, the moral questions that go into crafting something designed to kill 250,000 humans, um, and unleashing what is the scariest thing that I think we as humans have ever created, which is, weapons of mass destruction like that. Those bombs fundamentally altered the fabric of what it is we perceive to be reality. And that's not hyperbole. That's
Literal.
yeah. It's such an impressive, powerful thing. And yeah, I feel like the movie was able to capture that in a way that did it justice and asked the right questions of the audience, I feel like, and allowed you to sit and actually feel it. And it did not steer into spectacle, which could have been really easy to do. It could have been very visual effects heavy. It could have been a lot of cool stuff blowing up and all this. No, it's about the people. It's about it's about our government and what we did at the time. And has my favorite unexpected cameo, I think, of anything I've ever watched. And I will not spoil it because it was not advertised anywhere that I'm aware of. And when this person appeared, I guess not even a cameo. Cameo is not the right word. An actor playing a role that was not announced ahead of time that was just so perfect. And I didn't even know what to do. It was so funny. Like one of the funniest moments in a very serious film.
Right. Which is rare, which is obviously rare here.
Yeah. But on the flip side, I believe Universal has a hand in the production. I know Nolan has his own production company, but let's see. Yeah, it's distributed by Universal. Universal is one of the production companies, and Universal went out and cut down all the branches off of the trees, shielding the picket line outside of their studio, so that everyone on the picket line could no longer have the shade, while we're experiencing record heats with true feels up in the hundreds and 110s. They went out and cut all the branches off of the trees shielding the picketers. So yeah, it's weird to talk about it. I love Christopher Nolan, and Christopher Nolan supports the strike, and the actors support the strike. And at the end of the day, a production company is just one piece of what's going on in the distribution of a film. But I cannot sit and wax poetic any further about the movie, I don't think. I loved it, and there was just no way that I wasn't going to see it because of the personal
of course
impact that has had on my life, which I'm not going to dive into, all of that, but that piece of history has, altered the course of my life in so many ways. So I was absolutely going to watch it, but I absolutely
it's a weird time to also watch it, I guess.
You know
what I mean, in context.
Mm-hmm. So I love Christopher Nolan. Support Christopher Nolan. I support everybody that worked on that movie. But I can't do I'm not going to do glowing promotion for it other than just, like I said, it's one of the greatest things I've ever watched in my life. So it sucks that the studios won't come to terms on the strike so that I can be much more excited and openly gush about it. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Oh, fair enough. And for somebody that's not knowledgeable in the history and not really a history buff, would you say it's worth somebody like me to give that movie a try?
Oh yeah, you'll learn so much. You will learn so much.
Cool. All right. So yeah, we'll move on from there. We're gonna cut off fairly shortly.
Yeah.
But I figured let's end it on a high note.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about August. So August is the month of synth. Okay. What does that mean?
Fuck yeah.
Mostly people are like synth keyboards. Yes, keyboards, electronic music. The world of synthwave is very near and dear to my heart. For 100 times, if you haven't known already, I am one of the artists in Neon Arcadia. It is a scene that brought so much love and support to me as a person and as a musical project, and we want to pay it forward. I haven't been very active in that community for about a year and a half or so. Just music as a musician, you get inspired, you lose inspiration, you change focus on things. I like to write from the heart. I don't like to write for compliance. Plus Tyler and I are putting a big effort to create this content for everybody. So we want to pay it forward. And I figured what better way to do that than to kind of shine light on people that have been influential to me, influential to the scene, and kind of bring Tyler in that world too, because
Yeah.
Tyler, has been a fan of mine and I'm grateful for that. But he's not very well familiar with the scene, and that's okay. So we're going to start it off basically 1 week. We're going to have one guest or maybe two guests. Following week, same thing. The goal is we want to cap the end of the month with a really awesome guest. We have one in the pipeline, but we have a plan B if that doesn't work out. And I think that either one of them will be awesome for
Yep.
for the scene and for us. So we'll formally announce our first guests for the first show, which will be recording on the Friday, first week of August, airing the following Monday. We have Neon Fox, who, if you're in that scene, is the pinnacle of a musician's favorite kind of fan. Love so much. He brings so much love and excitement to his passion of the synthwave scene. He is
Mm-hmm.
so adoring to he has his own fans, but to the musicians and to the other fans, he brings so much positivity and energy. It's infectious. He travels the world to go to shows. He has his own show called The State of Synth. And then we're bringing two guests on that show. We're going to start it off really strong. Another pinnacle in the scene, Karin Zoe Lee, who is from also the Night Ride FM fame, has her own show as well. They have both blessed me with so much love. Karin has had me on her show. Jules has had me on his show. We want to pay it forward. We're going to talk about the scene. We're going to see what it's like, what I've missed, what we can look forward to, who's listening to who. And we'll talk about what it was like, when, I was in my peak heart love of synthwave before the pandemic happened. Bring it down. But we're going to have a lot of fun with it. We have a couple of more guests lined up, and as we get them, we'll announce them formally. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. We're going to be a lot more active on there.
We're gonna try
Tyler,
to
you have
be.
anything to add to that? Yes, we're
Nope.
gonna try not to be pressed for Twitter.
Yeah. We're bad at social media stuff. We're both too
Yeah,
old and have never been big social media people. Like it's not
it's
my
weird
thing.
because Neon Arcadia was like the peak of how active I've ever been, and it was like a almost 4 year period where I was posting weekly, consistent. I was traveling to work 5 days a week, so I had a way to work that out.
Yeah.
A pandemic making me be home kind of changed a lot of that, so it kind of threw me off my rhythm. But we'll
Yep.
find a way. We'll make it work. We're excited for it. Let's leave you in a positive note. We love each and every one of you for constantly checking us out, knowing that an episode can be unexpected, but when you get it, we know that it's from the heart, and we want to thank you for your love and support. So until next time, take care and have fun.
See you guys. I'm gonna go buy a lizard.
The hell's wrong with you?